The real battle we fight every single day isn't out there in the world. It's right here inside our own minds. Before we ever face any challenge, before we ever take the first step toward any dream, there's a conversation happening in our heads. That tiny, quiet, often fearful voice that whispers, "You're not good enough. What if you fail? What will people say?" That voice can become so loud that it stops us from even trying. But here's the truth. That voice isn't your enemy. It's your untrained mind trying to protect you. The problem is, it protects you from pain, but also from growth. When you begin to train your mind, you start recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer, the one who decides which thoughts get to stay and which ones have to go. Every time you choose courage over comfort, every time you silence the voice of fear and replace it with the voice of faith, your mind grows stronger. And that strength doesn't come overnight. It comes from choosing again and again to believe in yourself even when everything around you says otherwise. There was a time when I, too, let that voice win. It told me that my story was over, that I had nothing left to offer. And for a moment, I believed it. But then I realized something powerful. If my mind could convince me to give up, it could also convince me to rise again. That's when everything changed. I started training my thoughts the way an athlete trains their body. With consistency, discipline, and love, I began to feed my mind with words of strength, with gratitude, with hope. Slowly, that fearful voice started losing its power. You see, your thoughts are like seeds. Whatever you plant will grow. If you keep feeding your mind with doubt, fear, and comparison, that's what will take root. But if you start planting words of belief, courage, and resilience, you'll build an inner world so strong that no external storm can shake it. That's what mental victory feels like. Not that everything becomes easy, but that nothing can easily break you. It's not about pretending that fear doesn't exist. It's about learning to talk back to it. It's about saying, "I hear you, but I'm still going to move forward." When you train your mind to respond with strength instead of surrender, you start to win battles that no one even sees. You walk differently, you speak differently, you carry yourself with a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth doesn't depend on circumstances. It comes from within. So today, I want you to ask yourself, are you feeding your fears or your faith? Because the one you feed will grow. Train your mind to believe that you are capable, worthy, and unstoppable, and watch how your life begins to rise to meet that belief. Because the day you master your mind is the day you start winning every battle that life throws your way. Pain, it's something we all run from, something we wish would just disappear. But the truth is, pain is one of the most powerful teachers life has to offer. It doesn't knock on your door with kindness or come wrapped in comfort. It arrives uninvited, unannounced, and often unwelcome. Yet it teaches lessons that success never could. You see, pain strips away everything that is superficial. The ego, the false confidence, the illusions, and it leaves behind the raw, unfiltered version of who you truly are. It's in those moments of breaking that you discover what you're really made of. When you face pain, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual, you are given a choice to let it define you or to let it refine you. Most people see pain as an ending, but I've come to understand it as a beginning. It's the start of a deeper understanding of yourself, a reminder that you're still alive, still capable of growing, still capable of transforming. Every scar you carry tells a story of survival, not defeat. Every tear you've shed is proof that your heart still feels, still hopes, still dreams. I remember when life felt heavy, when nothing seemed to make sense. I would ask, Why me? But with time, I realized that the question isn't why me, it's what is this teaching me? Pain teaches patience. It teaches humility. It teaches you how to appreciate joy when it finally returns. It teaches you that strength isn't about pretending to be fine. It's about embracing the struggle and still choosing to move forward. We live in a world where everyone wants instant results and painless progress. But real growth doesn't happen in the comfort of easy days. It happens when you're forced to face what you thought you couldn't handle. It's in the sleepless nights, the silent tears, the moments when you feel completely lost. That's where transformation begins. That's where your mind learns endurance. Because when you walk through the fire and refuse to burn out, you come out not just stronger, but wiser, more grounded, more real. Pain also connects us to others in the most human way. It reminds us that everyone is fighting a battle we may never see. And when you begin to see pain as a teacher, not a punishment, compassion replaces judgment for others and for yourself. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start saying, thank you for showing me my strength. So, the next time you find yourself in pain, don't just wish it away. Sit with it. Listen to it. Ask it what it came to teach you. Because every time you rise from your pain, you prove that you are not broken, you are becoming. And that's the beauty of it. Pain may shape you, but it will never define you. You know, one of the most common ways people lose in life is by waiting for the perfect timing, the perfect plan, the perfect version of themselves. But the truth is, there's no such thing as the perfect moment. If you keep waiting for everything to be just right, before you start, you'll wait your whole life. Winners don't wait for opportunities to knock. They train their minds to create doors where none exist. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve is not talent, it's action. It's the willingness to take that one imperfect step, even when fear whispers, what if you fail? Every great success begins with a small, uncertain step forward. The mind naturally wants comfort. It loves excuses because excuses feel safe. They sound like, I'll do it when I'm ready, or I'm just waiting for the right time. But if you listen closely, what you're really saying is, I'm afraid, and that's okay. Fear is natural. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in spite of it. When you replace excuses with execution, you begin to train your mind to follow your will instead of your worries. You stop being controlled by circumstances and start controlling your choices. I've learned that progress isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's about waking up one morning and saying, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll still try. The smallest effort can spark the biggest change. You may not see results right away, but consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds miracles. You can't think your way into success. You must act your way into it. When life throws challenges at you, your mind will always try to negotiate with you. It will tell you to take it easy, to delay, to overthink. That's when you must stand firm and say, no, I decide when to move. Because the moment you start taking control of your actions, everything begins to shift. The power you seek is already inside you, but it only awakens when you move. Even when you fail, and you will at times, every attempt teaches you something valuable. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a part of it. Each setback is a sign that you're trying, growing, evolving. Don't let one bad experience convince you that you're not capable. Let it remind you that you're brave enough to try again. The mind becomes disciplined through action. Every time you choose effort over excuse, your confidence grows a little stronger. Your vision becomes a little clearer. and your heart beats with a little more purpose. So stop waiting for the right time. Create it. Take that first step, however small, and let your actions speak louder than your fears. Because the moment you replace excuses with execution, you stop waiting for life to happen and start becoming unstoppable. One of the hardest lessons to learn in life is that we cannot control everything. We spend so much time worrying, overthinking, and trying to fix things that were never ours to fix in the first place. We fight to control how people treat us, how situations unfold, how life should go, but life doesn't always listen to our plans. It has its own rhythm, its own timing, its own lessons to teach. The real strength comes when you stop fighting what's beyond your control and start focusing on what's within your reach. There's a quiet kind of power that comes with acceptance. Not the kind that means giving up, but the kind that says, I trust that even if this isn't what I wanted, it's still leading me somewhere I'm meant to be. When you stop trying to control everything, you make room for peace to enter your life. You begin to realize that your energy is precious and that wasting it on what you can't change only drains your joy. The truth is, you can't control how others behave, but you can control how you respond. You can't control every outcome, but you can control your attitude toward it. So many times we hold on too tightly to people, to expectations, to the idea of how things should be. We think letting go means losing, but sometimes it's the only way to win. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you choose to stop carrying the weight that was never meant to be yours. It's choosing your peace over your need to prove a point. It's choosing growth over control. I remember a time when I wanted everything to go exactly as I imagined. I planned, I hoped, I tried to hold it all together, but life had different plans. At first, I fought it. I thought if I tried harder, I could make it work. But the more I fought, the more exhausted I became. It wasn't until I surrendered, until I said, all right, maybe there's a reason this isn't happening, that things began to make sense. Sometimes the doors that close are not a rejection, they're protection. They're redirecting you to something far better than what you had in mind. When you focus only on what you can control, your thoughts, your reactions, your effort, you stop living in frustration and start living in freedom. You stop blaming the world and start shaping your inner world. That's where true resilience is born. You begin to realize that peace is not the absence of problems. It's the ability to stay calm in the middle of them. So if something doesn't go your way, breathe. Don't fight it. Don't force it. Do your part, give your best, and then let life unfold the rest. Because the moment you learn to control what you can and release what you can't, you don't just find peace. You find your power. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you fill it with positivity, hope, and gratitude, it will bloom beautifully. But if you allow negativity, doubt, and comparison to take root, they will spread like weeds and suffocate your peace. What we feed our minds every day becomes the foundation of how we see the world and ourselves. That's why it's so important to be intentional about what and who you allow into your mental space. Because not everything that glitters is good for your soul, and not everyone around you contributes to your growth. We often underestimate the power of our environment. The people we spend time with, the content we consume, the words we repeat to ourselves, they all shape our mindset. If you surround yourself with negativity, you start absorbing it without even realizing it. You begin to see limits where there are opportunities, problems where there could be solutions. But when you consciously choose to be around people who lift you up, who challenge you to grow, who remind you of your strength when you forget, everything changes. Your energy shifts. Your thoughts become lighter. You begin to believe again. I remember a time when I had to make that difficult choice to distance myself from voices that constantly drain my spirit. It wasn't easy. Sometimes the hardest thing isn't letting go of what hurts you, but walking away from what feels familiar. But once you do, you realize how much clarity and peace you gain. Protecting your mental space is not selfish, it's necessary, because your mind cannot grow in an environment filled with noise, comparison, and doubt. We live in an age where our minds are constantly being bombarded. Social media, opinions, expectations, and all of it can quietly shape how we feel about ourselves. That's why you must become your mind's guardian. Be mindful of what you listen to, what you read, what you repeat to yourself when no one is watching. Feed your thoughts with gratitude, hope, and kindness. Speak to yourself the way you would to someone you love. Positivity is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about training your mind to see the light. Even when the room feels dark, it's choosing to focus on what's still possible rather than what's been lost. And the beautiful thing is, the more positivity you surround yourself with, the more naturally it begins to flow through you, into your words, your actions, your presence. You become that light for others too. So take a moment to look around and within. Ask yourself, is my environment helping me grow or holding me back? Because your mind deserves the kind of energy that helps it rise, not the kind that pulls it down. Surround your mind with positivity, and you'll discover that the world outside you begins to reflect the peace within you. Failure and setbacks are not signs that you're losing. They're reminders that you're trying. Every single person who has ever achieved something meaningful has fallen. Some have fallen harder than others, but the difference lies in what they did afterward. Did they stay down, or did they get back up and use that fall as fuel to rise stronger? Because the truth is, every time life knocks you down, it's giving you an invitation to rediscover your strength, your patience, and your purpose. When you fall, it hurts. There's no denying that. You question yourself, you doubt your worth, and sometimes you even feel like giving up altogether. But in those moments of pain, something powerful begins to grow inside you. That quiet resilience, that inner voice that whispers, "Not yet. You're not done." That's your strength being reborn. The mind learns more from defeat than it ever does from victory. It learns humility, patience, and the art of perseverance. I remember times when I fell so hard that I thought I would never recover. But every time, life taught me that the fall was not there to break me. It was there to build me. It showed me that strength isn't found in never falling. It's found in the courage to rise again and again, no matter how many times you stumble. Because every fall strips away the unnecessary, leaving behind only what truly matters: your spirit, your faith, your will to keep moving forward. Sometimes, failure redirects you toward the path you were meant to be on all along. Maybe that closed door wasn't a rejection, but protection. Maybe that disappointment wasn't an ending, but a preparation for something far greater. The mind that learns to see failure as feedback, not finality, becomes unstoppable. Because when you stop fearing the fall, you start playing to win. You see, life is not about avoiding pain, failure, or heartbreak. It's about learning to transform them. Every mistake you've made carries a lesson that will serve you later. Every time you've been told no, it's been shaping you for the right yes. Every setback has been silently preparing you for your comeback. The key is to stop seeing your past as something that defines you and start using it as something that refines you. There's beauty in rising after you've fallen. Because that's when you realize how powerful you truly are. You stop seeking validation from others and start drawing strength from within. You understand that your worth was never in your success. It was in your persistence. So, don't fear the fall. Don't curse the moments that broke you. Stand tall, take a deep breath, and remind yourself, every time I rise wiser, braver, and stronger than before. Because the fall is never the end. It's always the beginning of your next rise.